All right, I think I'm going to get going. I see a lot of participants logged on, so I'm going to get started. Thank you for joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rich Volkmann. I run the benefits department at FBinsure. Joining me today is Derek Smith. He is a risk advisor that works with me in the benefits department. The two of us have tackled a couple topics that I hope you find interesting. I hope you all are doing well during this crisis. This is certainly nothing that any of us have experienced in the past. It's quite a unique situation. Our goal today is no different than our normal goal. It's our process and approach doesn't change. That would be to identify, reduce, and mitigate risk. That's what we do at FBinsure. We're not going to be trying to sell you insurance today. We're just going to be trying to help you. The topics we chose to talk about today are the most common questions that we've been receiving during this crisis. Let me just say before we get started, this is not meant to be legal advice. You should always consult legal before making policy or decisions you're concerned about. During the webinar, you can use the chat feature to ask us questions. When we get to the end, we'll try to address the ones we can, and we could even reach out to you indirectly, Derek or I, afterwards. So now with all that out of the way, Derek is going to get started with our first topic. The first topic is layoff versus furlough, some of the differences. I will follow that with COBRA and unemployment. And then lastly, Derek's going to take on the last topic. He's going to give you a brief introduction of our resource center tab that FB's put together. At the end, Derek and I will wrap up. We'll review the questions on chat, and we'll see if we can answer any of them directly today. So with no further delay, here goes Derek.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us. As Rich said, we hope that you, your family are healthy and doing your best you can to get through this. So one of the main questions that we've gotten since this all started is, what's the difference between furloughing an employee and laying off an employee? The thing that we can tell you to start off that's most important is that there isn't a right or wrong answer. We're not suggesting that one is better than the other. We're not suggesting that you should only do furlough or only do layoffs. What's really important with this is that no matter which decision your company makes, you get everybody in the same room, or in this case on the same Zoom, on the same webinar, and have a discussion around what's best for your company. That is the most important piece of information we can provide you today. You've got to get your CPA, your attorney, all your decision makers, your benefits advisor, your risk advisor, get everybody together and talk about it, because it is a big decision and every company is a little bit different. With that said, the main question we have is about furloughs. So a furlough is an unpaid leave of absence, whereas layoffs are permanent. You're permanently severing the employment. With a furlough, you're able to bring the person back without rehiring them. Employees keep their jobs, but they do not continue to earn a salary, okay? So when you're furloughing an employee, the idea is that you're planning on bringing them back, okay? You're planning on bringing them back. This became popular during the 2008 financial crisis. And if you take some time and review some stories out there in regards to that, what you'll see is that a lot of companies, CEOs and CFOs credited furloughing employees as a major reason that they were able to regain momentum quickly and were able to get their operations back up and running as the economy turned. It's one of the reasons that furloughing is something that you should be considering right now, given the fact that while it might not feel like it at the moment, we will get on the other side of this, and not having to go through the steps of rehiring all your employees may allow you to get back up and running at full steam quicker than if you had laid them off. So the next question about furlough versus layoffs is in regards to health benefits. If your company will allow it, furloughed employees are allowed to keep their health benefits. All right, that is the most important piece, and we're going to dive into that a little bit more in a second here. The second piece is that employees that are furloughed are allowed to collect unemployment. This includes the $600 weekly payment the federal government put in place just recently. Very important add-on there, that whether you're laid off or you're furloughed, you are eligible for that. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, it's really important, though, that you thoroughly analyze your individual situation before you decide whether or not to furlough an employee or lay them off. You want to make sure that you're not violating any collective bargaining agreements, any existing contracts, that it's not violating anything in your handbook, and that if those things are in place, that you take the steps necessary to get around them and put a furlough program in place. This isn't a knee-jerk reaction, okay? Another thing to really consider is how quickly do you think that when your company comes back, you'll have an ability to get back up and running where you were before. We don't advise that you furlough a bunch of employees that you know you're not going to be able to bring back. Or if you feel as though your company is going to have a substantial long-term impact, furloughs might not be right for you. If you're a company that you know, and we see this a little bit with restaurants, if you anticipate that as soon as you reopen, you may be able to bring these employees back and get back to 80%, 90% of what you were doing before, furloughing an employee, allowing them to keep their health benefits while collecting unemployment becomes a much better option for you. Now, the last piece about furloughed employees that's very important is if you do decide to allow them to keep your health insurance, you need to take some steps to protect them and to protect your business, okay? The first thing is to determine how the employee is going to pay their portion of the health insurance. Right now, you may have employees that are paying 50%, 60% of their plan, and as an employer, you need to decide how you're going to collect that. Okay, our first piece of advice is whatever you decide, create a written plan. It's very important to put on a piece of paper and have the employees acknowledge what's about to happen. Okay, that is the first step. Options to collect that we have seen work very effectively are billing the employees at the end of every month, simply sending them an invoice and allowing them to pay via check, via online, depending how your company is set up. Some companies are allowing employees to elect to pay double deductions when they return to work. Again, if you're furloughed, the idea is that you will be returning to work and you will end up back with the company. This is a great option if the employees have the ability to take that piece out of their paycheck then and can get caught up. What you do need to remember, though, is that in this time period, your full bill will be due. So as a company, you have to make sure that you're comfortable paying that full amount and then allowing the employees to pay catch up afterwards, and that won't put too much of a financial strain on your company. And the last thing that we're seeing a little bit more now as this begins to go on is allowing employees to cash in their accrued PTO to pay for their premium. Certainly, this doesn't work for every company. You have to have a PTO policy in place. Your employees have to feel comfortable with it. But it is a great way to allow the employee not to have to come out of cash out of their pocket, makes them not have to defer their payments. And as an employer, you're able to make sure that you get what you need currently so that you don't end up in a worse financial situation down the road. Now, we have a lot of questions come in about, I want to do the right thing for my employees, and I really just want to pick up their cost for a while. I want to make sure that, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get their unemployment benefits. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get the extra $600. What if I want to pay for it? And if that's something that your company is in position to do, that's fantastic. And we certainly understand why you want to do that. What we do suggest, though, is that you put an end date on that and that you establish that in writing. You can always extend the end date. You can always agree to pick up the benefits longer. Unfortunately, we've had some companies that when they put people on furlough initially, they just said, we're going to come up and pay your full benefits. And now that we've reached 4, 5, 6 weeks into this and are looking at the potential of this going on for an undetermined amount of time, they're now being forced to go back to those employees and try and establish a plan with them after they've already been furloughed, while they're out of work. And it's a much harder conversation then. It's much better if you can say, we're going to pick it up for a month. And then if you have the ability to do it for another month, send them another notice letting them know that. but put a plan in place. We're going to do it for a month, and then after that, this is how you're going to pay for your benefits. So furloughs and unemployment. So as I mentioned earlier, yes, furloughed employees are eligible for both the normal unemployment pay as well as the $600 per week federal government subsidy. Important to remember that that $600 is scheduled to run out on July 31st. We may see something change depending on how long this goes, but as of right now, that is good through the 31st. And many states, including Massachusetts and Rhode Island, have waived the 1-week waiting period for unemployment benefits to be filed. So as Rich gets into discussing what happens when you lay somebody off, one of the reasons that you want to be able to have this conversation and make a decision about furloughing and layoffs and doing it quickly is to make sure that they go on and file as soon as possible, because there is no 1-week waiting period anymore. So Rich, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you to discuss the next section.
Okay, layoffs. So when you do layoff, you're going to have to initiate COBRA. The employees will receive a COBRA notice. And, this is something that many of these employees are not used to getting. We're laying off, people are being laid off that have worked for 20, 30 years, never had a gap of employment, and they're confused, they're intimidated. Anything new is intimidating. So we're going to try to help your employees with what to do with COBRA, with unemployment. So those are the next sections. Here are some resources that people can go to get unemployment. I'm going to go into it a little bit more in the next couple slides. So COBRA, again, you've got employees that are being offered COBRA that have never been offered COBRA before, and they don't understand it. They might think they have to get it immediately. People need to really step back, and you may need to take an active role to help these employees that have never faced this situation before. COBRA can be very expensive for the employee, and in the end, it can be very expensive for the employer. Now, what I mean by that, I'm not going to get into the deep discussion about health insurance, but statistically, COBRA participants have much higher claims than your regular participants on your health plan. Now, with that said, again, not getting into health insurance premium, but this year's claims is next year's premium. So if you can help direct your COBRA potential employees to other options, it'll help everybody in the end. COBRA is a very time-consuming thing to track. Many of you outsource it, so that's not an issue, but there are so many rules and timelines that need to be followed. These timelines and rules need to be followed to make sure members are eligible. Claims could be denied if somebody had made a mistake in the eligibility rules, and I've seen it, and it's not pretty. Companies could be liable for denied claims if they handle COBRA improperly. And again, people are handling COBRA today that at a high volume that never really have done that before. Payments need to be collected and tracked. If premium is not collected in a timely manner, companies could have no recourse to collect that outstanding premium. Health insurance carriers will only go back so far to give you a credit. And one thing that many people are unaware of, and I've had the situation happen a lot, somebody will let COBRA immediately without thinking it through. When you elect COBRA, you need a qualifying event to get out of COBRA. And sometimes people get trapped. So that is a very little known fact. So what are people's options? Every state has a marketplace for people to purchase health insurance. Every COBRA letter will list every state's website. This is the website to go on the federal, but the Mass, obviously, many of you on the call today are from Massachusetts. The Massachusetts Health Connector is what I'm talking about. So COBRA is a qualifying event you can add to your spouse's plan. If you're Medicare eligible, now is the time you can step into Medicare without a penalty. All right, so unemployment. Once again, People are filing and have never filed before and are very intimidated. So here's just a couple tips for you to help your employees, because you as the employer feel really bad about having to have people file for unemployment. That's what I'm seeing. So encourage them to file online. Massachusetts especially has upgraded their system. They have a cloud-based system, and it's working very well. It's not super fast because of the volume, but I have to say it is working. Now, I can't say that for all states, but Massachusetts actually did a good job. They upgraded before this all happened with no idea this was going to happen. People should file the first week of total or partial unemployment. I've had some people come back to me, they got laid off on Friday. They went, tried to log on Friday night, and it said they were ineligible. They got confused, they panicked. They're ineligible because they worked that week. You have to wait for the following week or the week that you're partially unemployed. Derek's going to go into our resource center that has all these links, but here is a link to a step-by-step guide to how to file for unemployment. Massachusetts put it together. It's very good. There will be some situations where people don't have a perfect filing situation. You know, maybe they have 2 jobs, maybe they work in 2 different states, and you have some questions. So I encourage you to use this last, instead of calling, use this last link. This is a form that the state has put together for you to ask questions, and they'll get back to you electronically. And I've heard it's working. You know, again, calling is not working. It's way too long. You'll be able to get this on our resource tab, but this is everything an employee needs actually in order to file for unemployment. These are the things that we're trying to help our employees so they don't get so nervous about how to file. What do I need? Here you go. The more information they have, the more comfortable they'll be. One of the last few tips. There will be a question when people are filing, are you out of work due to COVID-19? It's very important for them to say yes. This relaxes some of the normal rules and guidelines when someone is receiving unemployment benefits. For example, you may not have to be actively looking for work because you're really waiting to get called back to work. I highly recommend people to withhold taxes. Again, keep saying it, but these are people who have never filed. They have no idea this is taxable income. And if you don't, you're going to owe taxes at the end of the year. The extra $600 coming from the Fed, we haven't found a way to tax that yet. So you're already going to get some taxable unemployment benefits. So I would definitely withhold taxes for your home state. The last tip, people, again, they don't know. You have to file every week to report that you are still out of work, so your benefits each triggered each week. A couple more tips. When you put in your information on the application, your employer should autofill. This is one of the steps that has tripped up a lot of people. If that does not happen, it's very important to enter your company name exactly how it appears on the W-2. If your company didn't autofill, you didn't get linked automatically to your wages. So now the unemployment system has to find your reported wages to pay you benefits. It'd be a big delay if this doesn't go right. Massachusetts has set up some virtual town halls. Below is the link. Again, that link will be on the resource tab. Again, people should take their time, look at all the resources, and be ready to file so it's done correctly in order to get paid promptly. So with that, Derek is going to talk briefly about our resource center. And go ahead, take it away, Derek.
Yeah, so one of the things that the agency tried to do is, as soon as this became a real issue, was to set up a resource center where our clients could go to get up-to-date information and kind of have a one-stop shop. And we're very proud of the work that the team has done the amount of effort that's gone into putting this together has been tremendous, and updating it every single day. We could sit here and do a 20-minute webinar on just the Resource Center, but we're not. So we're going to just kind of touch on a couple high-level things. The first is that every day it's worth checking, because we're updating it with as much fresh content as possible. If something comes out, the team is working to get it up there immediately with what you need to know. The second thing is that we are open for office hours through Zoom. You can click right on the link and talk to a team member in our small business office from 10 to 2 Monday through Friday. It's available to you as a resource. Even if you're not exactly sure if it's the right department, we encourage you to click on it, ask a question. Anybody that's getting that question would be more than happy to direct you to the right department or take down your information and have somebody give you a call. The next area we want to highlight is our unemployment links and resources. Rich just went through a ton of different resources that are out there and places that you need to go. And thanks to the hard work of our team, almost everything you need is in one spot on our resource center. If you have any questions or you don't know where to go for something, we suggest that you check here first. We're doing the best we can to put this all in one spot for you for both our Massachusetts and our Rhode Island customers, and anybody else that needs access to it. We've got safety resources, we've got links to unemployment benefits, links to the state website. We also have posters that need to be put up. We've got pretty much everything that you could think of. And if there's something not there, we encourage you to take a moment and email us. Ask us the question, ask us if we know how to get access to it. We're happy to look into it for you. We're happy to see if we can put it up there. If you're looking for it as an employer and we don't have it up there, chances are you're not alone. And we want to make this as comprehensive and as beneficial to you as possible. So we encourage you to check that out and take a look at it. And also a copy of this presentation will be posted to the Resource Center so that you have an opportunity to go back in and take a look at it in further detail. So Rich, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, so I just reviewed some of the questions on chat. A lot of them are referring to loans, and we're going to leave that to your banker and CPA. And maybe in a future seminar we can get a speaker on that, but that's really a little bit out of my realm. A couple of the other questions are, when are people going to get unemployment? It's hard to say. I have 2 family members that have filed. One, it came right away, but she filed early. The second one filed just recently. We haven't gotten it yet, but all indications it's on the way. We did try to keep this at a high level. We didn't go down any rabbit holes, because we really would have to talk to people individually, because you have to take into account your handbook, your policies, your the way you typically handle situations. There's a lot of tough decisions that have to be made during this crisis, and we certainly hope we come out of it soon. Derek, do you have anything to add?
No, just thank you to everybody for taking the time to join us, and please share any feedback or questions with us. We hope to make this a regular thing and want to make it really beneficial to you.
All right. Feel free to shoot us some questions, other topics you'd like us to cover. We plan on doing this on Fridays for the next few weeks. We'd love to get some suggestions, and always feel free to reach out to Derek or I directly. With that, everyone stay safe and try to have a good day.